believers in multiple things. For me, a believer in Jesus. A believer in people. A believer that people are special. A believer in people. That you're unique, that you're one of one, that you're here to accomplish something. We want to be believers in people. You know, there's a young man that was in his senior year of high school. And this young man has struggled his entire life at school. He comes from a pretty tough upbringing, and he was in a really tough situation, and he was getting ready to fail in high school. And he had one teacher that loved him and would continue to push him and believe in him. And near the end of the senior year, she was begging him, please, would you just take the SAT test for me? And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm literally almost failing at every class I have. Like, I can't, what am I gonna do with the SAT? I can't go to college. I'm dumb. I can't do anything. I can't accomplish anything. These are all things he would say to himself. And she said, no, just please, for me, for everything that I've done for you, for all the times I've gone out of my way to help you, to tutor you, to fight for you, please, for me, would you go take the SAT test? So he said, all right, I don't want to do it, but for you, I'll go take it. So it was a couple Saturday mornings from then, and he wakes up and he's getting ready to go take the SAT test, and his parents are like, where are you going this morning? And he's like, I'm going to take the SAT. And they're like, why? You're not even going to do good, you're going to fail. And he's like, well, you can't fail it. But they're like, well, if someone could, you would. It's just kind of what he came from. But anyways, he continues to go. He finishes the SAT. He doesn't really feel good about it, but he comes back and they wait a couple of weeks. Another day, the letter comes in and he's reading it in front of his family, and he opens the letter and it says, you got a 1480 out of a 1600 on your SAT. So the first thing that his parents said to him was, how did you cheat? Supportive parents. And anyways, he was like, whatever, mom, dad. So he leaves and he runs to the teacher and he shows her this letter of how he got a 1480 out of a 1600 on the SAT. And she's weeping and they're crying together. And after this, he's so motivated. He's like, you know what? Maybe I can go to college. Maybe I can accomplish something. Maybe there is significance and meaning in my life. Maybe I can do something. So they set out a schedule that morning of all the things that they can do and how he can get back on schedule to be able to graduate high school and go to college. And he got in a pretty prestigious college with that score. And he found out in college that he wanted to be an entrepreneur. So in college, he started a couple businesses. And when college finished, those businesses took off and they killed it and they grew. So 10 years after he graduated college, he wins an award for being Entrepreneur of the Year around the country. A few weeks after he wins that award, he's sitting in his home with his family and his kids, and he gets a letter from the county in which he grew up in. And so he's just nonchalant, hanging with his family, opens the letter, and he begins to read. And this letter from the county tells him that they go back and they look at SAT scores. And they go back to make sure they're doing the right thing and auditing themselves. And they say, we're so sorry to inform you, but we made a mistake on your SAT test. It's our fault, but we're so sorry to inform you, you did not make a 1480. You made a 740. And he's sitting there with his wife and his family. And the moment that his life changed, it was a piece of paper that told him a lie. But he believed it, and it changed everything for him. You know what happens when a life believes that it's valuable, believes that it's worthy, believes that it has meaning? Everything changes. Because if you think, I don't have meaning, I don't have significance, I don't have purpose, there's nothing that I can accomplish, I'm not smart, I'm not successful, I'm dumb, then that's going to sink in. But if you believe you have meaning, you have purpose, you have significance, watch what changes when a life believes that. We're believers. That was the first non-negotiable. The second non-negotiable was that everyone matters. Everyone matters. You want to change? You know, I love it because I was hearing so much about what you do, and to be really good at what you do, you need to be able to lead people. You need to be able to share with people. You need to be able to encourage people. You know how to do that? Is to let them know that they matter to you, that they matter in life, that they have significance. Everyone matters. You want to be able to lead people? You go out of your way to show them that they matter, and watch how much they want to come through for you. For me, that was true on teams. When I would show how much a guy that I barely knows how much he matters to me, a defensive end or on the other side of the ball, when I would go out of my way to show them that they matter, when I would go out of my way where I could do something for them to show them how much they matter to me, even though I didn't necessarily know them, we weren't best friends, but I would still go out of my way to show them something. You know how much harder they would play for you? They would fight for you. When you show people that they matter, everything changes. For me, that really took hold of my life when I was 15 years old, and I was on my first mission trip in the Philippines. And on this trip, we got to do amazing things. We were in hospitals, schools, marketplaces, prisons, orphanages. It was amazing, but it wasn't until the last week of the trip, we were in the Philippines that made up of thousands of islands, and we were in one of the most remote islands of the Philippines, and it took us forever to get there. We finally get to this island. We have to hike up to where there are vehicles. We get to a vehicle. We drive to the top of the mountain. We get out of the vehicle when we walk into the village, the only village on this island. We walk in, and when you're in the Philippines, they're always so excited to see you, but it was even different on this island, on this village. And why it was so different is we realized it was the first time this village had ever had visitors in the history of its village. First time ever. So we're walking in, and literally every single person puts down whatever they're doing and runs to us. They could not believe it. Visitors, and from America, and especially the girls with blonde hair, they thought that was the most fascinating thing of all time. Like, this is crazy. You know, they're like feeling all the blonde hair. Like, yeah, it feels the same. It's crazy. So we gathered the entire village at the local high school. By that, it's just a field, pretty much, with a couple buildings. And we're there to share our faith, and it was my chance to share my faith. So I stand up, and literally people are fighting to get as close to us as possible. Row 1 is literally like on my feet, and I could touch row 7. That's how packed everyone is. And I begin to share, and as I begin to share, I see 3 boys in the back right corner turn and walk away. You got to understand, I was blown away. Like, why would 3 middle school age boys be leaving? I mean, I'm not kidding you. People are pushing and shoving to get as close to us as possible. Why would they be leaving? So the whole time I'm talking with everyone. I can't get those 3 boys out of my mind. And I finish, and afterwards people are giving us hugs, but I had to go see about these 3 boys. Where did they go? Why did they leave? So I'm like literally kind of pulling kids off of hugging us, and I walk around the corner of the school, and I get to the back of the school, and I can't find them anywhere. And then I see about 200 yards in the distance, there's this little tiny bamboo hut. And I see one of the 3 boys crawl from underneath the bamboo hut. And he sees me, and he comes walking to me, so I meet him halfway, and I try to say hello to him, and he says nothing to me. He just grabs me by 2 of my fingers, and he pulls me to the bamboo hut. So I follow him, and we get to the bamboo hut, and then he crawls in. So I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm going to crawl in too. And so I crawl into this little tiny bamboo hut, and when I get in there, I see the other 2 boys. One of them is laying on a bamboo cot, and the other one is holding his hand, rubbing it like this. And at first it looked like everything was okay, but then I looked at the boy on the bamboo cot, and I saw his legs, and his legs were on backwards. And it was the first time I'd ever seen anything like this in my life, and so I'm a little bit emotional, and I'm kind of holding back tears because it's just so startling. But then I get on my knees and I start talking with these three boys, and we're having a great conversation, and it's just so much fun getting to know them, getting to see their bright smiles and their love for life. But the whole time I had to ask, why did you leave? Why did you leave? Sherwin, the boy with his feet on backwards, laying on the bamboo cot, he looks at me and he says, our principal, she really, really wanted to impress the Americans, and she told me that I am not very impressive.
Oh my God.
And so I find out that this boy Sherwin was shunned from being part of the gathering, but that his two friends wouldn't leave him and stayed with him. And so now when he tells me this, I'm like truly trying to wipe off tears, but I know why I'm there. I know why the whole trip was worth it. At this moment, for this boy, for these three boys. So finally, our whole team, they've been looking for me for like 20 minutes now. And they finally find me in this bamboo hut 200 yards away, and they're like, we gotta go, Timmy, we gotta go. And so they had come to find me, but when they had come to find me, literally the whole village followed them to me too. And so they're like, we gotta go. And Sherwin looks at me and he says, well, Timmy, would you carry me? And I said, of course. So I picked up Sherwin and we walked out of the bamboo hut, and then as we walk out and we take a step towards all the Filipinos, they all backed up. And then I take another step and they all back up again. And finally I take about 6 or 7 steps, and every time they back up and I realize they're not backing away from me, they're backing away from Sherwin. And what I come to realize is that they believed that Sherwin was cursed, that he was less than, that he was insignificant. But then you also have to realize that we just shared with them that we believe that everyone matters, that we all created in love, by love, and for love, and we all have amazing plan and purpose on this life. And so you can see them thinking, is it what we've always been told, or is it what y'all just told us about? Wait, there's actually a God that loves all of us, and we all matter, and we all have significance, and that also includes Sherwin. And so finally, after we've taken about 10 steps, one of the elders of the village, she comes walking up to us as everyone is frozen and no one's saying a word. She walks up to us and she taps Sherwin on the shoulder as to finally say, you're now welcome here. And I take another couple of steps, and then another one of the elders touches Sherwin to also say, you're welcome here. And then another one, and another one, and another one, and now it's popular. So everyone's kind of welcoming Sherwin back into the village. So finally, after all the people were kind of celebrating Sherwin again, and we got by all of them, because honestly, I wasn't even happy about it, because I was so mad in the first place. So we get by everyone, and we get over to a corner, and the whole time I was carrying Sherwin, his two friends, one's holding his foot, and the other one is holding his hand. Would not let Sherwin go. And so finally we get over to the corner by the Jeep, and I set Sherwin down, and he can't support himself, so I put his arm around his two friends, and I get on my knees and I pray with these three boys, and I look at them and I say, guys, I don't know if I'm ever gonna see you again, if you're ever gonna see me in the US, if I'm ever gonna see you in the Philippines, but I totally believe in my heart that one day I'm gonna see you in heaven. And Sherwin looks at me and he says, Kuya, which means, brother, one day I'm going to run with you in heaven.
Aww.
And this is a boy who's never walked a day in his life. And obviously by this point, I'm not like holding back tears. It's just real tears. And our whole team is like, get in the Jeep, get in the Jeep. And I'm like, no, I'm never leaving. And they're like, yes, you are. Get in the Jeep. So I get in the Jeep and I'm driving down the mountain. And you know, at that time, I knew in my heart, I wanted to be the best baseball, basketball, football player. I knew I wanted to pursue it. I loved it. I was passionate about it. I was willing to sacrifice. But at that moment, I knew that a game was never enough. Because a game is so much less than people. And you want to impact the world, you impact people. And I was driving down that mountain, and I knew what I wanted to do for the rest of my life was fight for people that couldn't fight for themselves. That was something that was put on my heart, that I knew that I'm supposed to do. But you know what else impacted me that day? The more I got away from the moment, the more I started to think about the two friends. The more I started to think about those two friends, because could you imagine if the biggest thing that had ever taken place in your city, your town, your village, your community was going on, would you be willing to miss out so that you could help someone in need, especially someone that no one else cared about, that no one else was going to give you credit for, that no one else was going to give you a pat on the back for? Would you be willing to go out of your way for that person? I'll tell you what, when I was their age, when I was in middle school, no way. I would be like, hey man, listen, I hope you feel better. God bless. I'll see you later, you know? But these two friends, they never left me. No matter what. No matter what. Even when it cost them being part of something special. Even when it cost them being part of their family. Even when it cost them food. Even when it cost them going to school every day. They would not leave their friend. And I'm asking you, what are you willing to do to show people around you that they matter, that they're important, that they have significance? Are you willing to go out of your way? Are you willing to be different? Are you willing to do it when it's not popular? Because if you make a stand and you do it for people, especially when it's not popular, watch what they're going to do for you. And that's not why you do it. But you talk about an impact on your business, on your company. You want to talk about a difference? Watch what that does for you. The third non-negotiable that we had is that we're on a rescue mission. I say a rescue mission, what does that mean? A rescue mission. You know, when you say rescue, it puts a timeline. It puts a sense of urgency. It puts desperation in it. You know, it's not just a mission. You might have a mission statement. We have our mission statement. But why we choose to use rescue in front of mission is because it puts a timeline. It's not about our time, it's about theirs. We're on a rescue mission to help as many people around the world as we can. We're on a rescue mission to make as much impact as we can. We're on a rescue mission to create as much change as we can. It puts a sense of urgency on it. We don't have forever. You don't have forever. You don't know how much time you have. You don't know the opportunities that you have. Is there a sense of desperation in what you're doing? Do you care that much about it that it's not just a mission, but it's a mission that we have to get done, that we have to do? Is there desperation? Is there urgency? Because when there is, watch the difference in how you'll work and how your team will work. If you believe in it so much that we can't just do it, we have to do it now. We have to be great. We have to have impact. We have to have meaning in everything we do starting now, because I don't know if I'll have tomorrow or the next day, so I'm going to make this day count. The fourth and last non-negotiable was that there's power when we come together. You know, it's pretty cool what you can accomplish. It's pretty cool what I can try to accomplish, but it's special what we can accomplish. Because there is power when we come together. There is power in this room today. There is power in this room today. Why? Because you are coming together as a team to support one another, to encourage one another, to care for one another, to have each other's back, to hold each other accountable. There is power in that. There is power when you come together. When it's not about me, you, but it's about us, watch the difference. But you know that has to start with you. If everyone around you thinks that you're in it for you, they're going to be average for you. When everyone thinks that you're in it for them, they're going to be great for you. To start that change, it has to come from you. Where you're in it for everyone, and you come together, there is power in that. It is life-changing power. It is business-altering power. There is power when you come together. A couple years ago, I got an email from a mom in December, and she was sharing with me her little girl's story. Her little girl was 15 at the time, and she had been fighting cancer since she was 9. Her name was Sarah. Many times the doctors told her that Sarah was going to lose her life, but Sarah was a fighter, and she continued to fight. And Sarah's dream was to be able to go to a prom. And Sarah didn't have the opportunity to do that in a school prom, but there's this thing that we hold every year. It's called Night to Shine. And it's a worldwide prom for people with special needs. And thankfully we've been able to have it pretty much all over the world. And there was one in their town. And it was on February 12th. And it was her dream to be able to go to it. Problem is, the doctors told her, there's no way you're gonna make it. There's just no chance. Like, we can keep you comfortable and you might make it to Christmas, but there's no way you're gonna make it to February. But Sarah was a fighter, and Sarah kept fighting, and all of a sudden, she made it to Christmas, she made it to New Year's, she's halfway through January, and the doctors are like, we don't know what's going on, but Sarah's still with us. Sarah makes it into February, and I mean, we're corresponding with her mom back and forth, and it's like literally a daily thing, and she's like, Sarah's still with us, this is incredible, and we're so excited. We just so want it for Sarah to be a part of something where Sarah, in her own words, writes, I want that night where I can feel like a princess. And so we're all praying for her, we're all hoping for her, we're talking to the churches in her community and everyone, trying to rally as much as we can around Sarah to be able to have this night for her. And Sarah looks like she's doing good, and it gets to Monday, February 8th, 4 days before Night to Shine. Night to Shine is on February 12th, Friday night. And she is so excited, but then Sarah takes a turn for the worst. Monday afternoon, and the doctors come in, and they say, Sarah, we're so sorry to tell you this, but you have less than 6 hours to live. Would you please say your final thoughts and prayers? She looks at the doctors and said, no, you're wrong. I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna make it tonight to shine. Doctors are like, they don't want to argue with a young girl that they believe is about to die, so they just comfort her and support her as much as they can. But then they tell the mom, sorry, she's really not going to make it. She has less than 6 hours to live. So the next day, Sarah is in and out, but she's still fighting. She's in and out, she's in and out, she's in and out of consciousness, but she's still fighting. Tuesday, she's still fighting. Wednesday, she's still fighting. Thursday morning, after being in and out of it the entire night, her eyes go wide in her bed, and her mom runs over to her because it was the first time in a couple of days. And her mom runs over and grabs her hand. She says, Sarah, are you okay? How do you feel? Like, she's just kind of rattled, and Sarah looks at her and she says, will you start to get me ready for Night to Shine? And this is Thursday morning, it's not till Friday night, but she says, of course, we'll do whatever. So they start to bathe her in her bed and wash her feet and care for Sarah and start to pick out dresses, and the church and everyone comes over and they have dresses and all this fun stuff that they're looking through, and Sarah keeps fighting in and out. And then they try to see if Sarah could possibly stand up, and she couldn't stand up at the time. So they lay her back down in her bed and they say, it's okay, if we can just get her there, it will be amazing. So the next day rolls around and it's Friday and Sarah's still with us and she's still Friday. So the limo pulls up to their home and literally their whole community is outside holding hands and praying and celebrating for Sarah. So they roll her in a wheelchair to the side of the limo and they put her in the limo and they drive her to the red carpet and she gets out and they roll her down the red carpet and everybody's going crazy because their whole community knows it's a small community in Georgia. And they all know Sarah's story. And they all know she's not supposed to be with us. So they roll her down the red carpet and the first thing she wants to do in Night to Shine is go to the chocolate fondue station. And then she goes to sing karaoke. And then they roll her to the dance floor. And everybody is watching Sarah. I mean, they're kind of like awkwardly watching her. It's like, I stopped watching her. But then Sarah puts a wheelchair in park. And she stands up. And everybody kind of goes to help her. And she's like, no, I got it. I got it. Sarah stands up. And then she begins to dance. And the whole place is crying, they're weeping, they can't believe it. Even the band's can't sing anymore because they're all crying. And she dances and she dances and she dances till she's one of the last people there.
Wow.
She gets in her wheelchair, they wheel her back through the prom, through the red carpet, into the limo. And she's riding home in the limo and she's riding with her grandma sitting right beside her and she says, Grams, I know I was living on borrowed time, but it was worth it. She gets to her home and they put her in her bed and she wakes up the next morning and all of her friends come running over Saturday morning to talk about it. Oh, we're gonna have a girl talk, this is amazing. Oh my gosh, so tell me about this, the dress, everything like that. And she's not really as excited and they say, Sarah, what's wrong? She said, I had a dream, but I know that I'm living on borrowed time. And I know that tomorrow I'm going to go home to heaven. But I just want to tell you guys it was worth it. And the next day, February 14th, Valentine's Day, Sarah went home. But what was amazing about that is the impact that she had on her community. Still to this day. Still to this day. And when I think about those non-negotiables, I think about Sarah's story. How belief can change your life. About how everyone matters. About there's a sense of urgency to help people, to love people. And how there's power when we come together to celebrate people. I see all of those non-negotiables when I think about Sarah and I think about her story. I want to encourage you today. It's not just about what you do, it's about who you are. Because when you understand who you are, what you do is going to take off and you be successful. Because the people around you will have true identity, meaning, and significance, and there is nothing more important than that. When I was at the University of Florida, for sure, Gator Nations everywhere. Let's go. When I was at the University of Florida, we were blessed to have a lot of success. My freshman year, we won the national championship. My sophomore year, I was blessed to win the Heisman. My junior year, we won a national championship. My senior year, our goal was to be the best ever, to win 3 out of 4 national championships. We were the #1 team in the country. We were undefeated the entire year till we got to the SEC championship.
Oh.
And we lost to Alabama. Oh, please, I did not want to hear a Roll Tide right now. And a lot of people will say, I'm sure you're disappointed, I'm sure you were upset, and yes, I was all those things, but for me at that time, I let it go too far, because I let it become more than a game. The next weekend, we were in Orlando, Florida for the Home Depot Awards, the awards they give to best college football players in the country, and the night before the award show, there's a banquet we have to go to, and I was sitting right in the middle with my parents, and I was in the worst mood. I was so mad. I was so disappointed. I had let a game define me. And they're bringing up the Alabama and the Texas players, and I'm just sitting there just ready to puke watching this trash. I was so mad. And finally a waitress comes and she taps me on the shoulder and she says, "Hey Timmy, there's a young girl that has come from Virginia to see you with her family. Is there any way that you would walk to the back to see her?" And I said, "Yeah, of course." So I get up and she starts telling me about this young girl who has severe disabilities. And I'm walking to the back of the room, and in comes walking a young girl named Kelly Fawnin. And as I'm walking to her, I can see how hard it is for her to take every single step. She had brain tumors, and those brain tumors affected how her whole body works. And so just fighting to take a step is hard, but she is trying to take those steps as fast as she can to me. And she gets to me and she gives me this great big hug. It's probably the best hug I've ever gotten. And she squeezes me and she embraces me, and then she keeps hugging me, and then she starts crying, and then I start crying, and then her family starts crying, and then my family starts crying, and no one's even said a word yet. Then I start to talk to Kelly, and I start to hear about her story and what she's gone through and everything she's been fighting through, and what a trooper this young girl is. And I just felt like it was put on my heart to ask her to be my date the next night for the red carpet and the award show, and she said yes, thankfully. And so the next morning, my uncle took her out to get her a fancy dress, and it was awesome. She got a fancy dress, and we went to dinner, and then after dinner, we went down the red carpet, and people were so amazing with Kelly. And then we're sitting in the award show, and that night I was up for 6 awards, and it was awesome. And I was literally sitting row 1, seat 1. And she was sitting right behind me, and her family was beside her, and my family was behind us, and it was so amazing. And then they start the award show. And I was up for 6 awards, the most any year I was up for, and I was in such a good mood because when I finally met Kelly, everything changed for me. Why? Because it was the first time in I don't know how long that I wasn't focused on me, but I was actually thinking about someone else. And my whole perspective changed. And then the award show starts. They announce the first award, and I lose. And I'm like, it's okay, it's not that big of a deal. Tonight's about Kelly, no problem. They announce the next award, and I lose. That stings a little bit. It's all right, though. It's about Kelly. They announce the third award, and I lose. Yeah, it stings a little bit. Fourth award, and I lose. Fifth award, and I lose. And now I'm starting to get mad, I'm starting to get upset, I'm starting to get frustrated, I'm starting to go right back to that place where it's all about me. Everything's about me. It's about me. It's about my legacy. It's about how people are going to look at me. It's all about me. And my mom, sitting behind me, she leans up and she taps me on the shoulder and she whispers in my ear, "You've already won tonight.
Aww.
You just don't get your reward till heaven." What was she talking about? Was she talking about...
I don't want to come here to cry.
What was she talking about? Was she talking about a silly college football award? I genuinely can't even tell you what it was for now. But at the time, I thought it was everything. I thought it was so important. But how incredible it is to have real perspective, to sit back and think, you know what? It's not all about me. And when we can change the perspective of it being all about you to actually looking at the needs of other people, everything changed. And for me, after that, so much changed. But you know what's hard? In life, it's hard to keep perspective because we got a world that's going to tell you it's all about you. It's all about money, fame, and power. And I'm here to tell you it's not about those things at all. Those things are great, and you can use them to influence people, and you can use them to have effect. And I want you to be successful. Hopefully you can take something from what I shared today, and it can help you be successful. But more so than be successful at business, I want you to be successful at life. And you know how you're successful at life is you understand what matters. And that's the people around you. And if you can change those lives for the better, watch how it's going to change yours. I'm so grateful to be here with you today, to be able to share from my heart. God bless you. I hope the best for you. Thank you so much for having me.